Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. A little bit different view today. We're on the other side of the shop because I'm continuing to kind of reclaim some of this space for some organization. So I've hung up some lasers using the French cleats that I designed and used a little over a year ago. I got a link to that video if you're interested in that solution, but with this rail up there, I also spent the other day using up some scrap plywood to build a shelf. And while that's all great by itself, I still have to reach up there to grab things. So I want to make some storage bins that will be able to fit in there nicely. I'll have a little bit of labels on there, but I can kind of pull them out and pull things down rather than have to kind of sort through shelves, which can get cluttered if you don't have some organization to them as well. So we're also going to take this opportunity, since I have to make multiple ones. I'm going to be comparing the xTool S1 as a diode laser to the xTool P2 as a CO2, just to show you a couple of the little differences between using a diode and a CO2 and the results you can get in cutting. Not a big deal. Both are going to work great for this project, but a lot of people ask about the differences. So I thought, since I'm doing this project, it'd be a good time to show you that as well. So something you're interested in, want to learn more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. Let's start by taking a look at the design. I've drawn these up in SketchUp so I can show them to you in 3D. It also just kind of helps me make sure everything's going to lock together. And so I've got two very similar boxes. They have the same footprint, but basically different heights. So it is just over 9 inches deep, just under, right around 5 3/4 inch wide. And this one is just under 6 inches, and this one is just under 5 inches tall. So plus the handles, but those will lock into the base, and like the small one would fit on the large one or vice versa. And then I also have up front this little slot that allows for me to put a little a tag, a little identifier. That's just be a piece of paper, or I could even cut a piece of wood that slides down in there. But those are roughly 3 by 2 inches, and will allow me to label these boxes. But things change, you use the box for something else, I can swap that out fairly easily. So that's the basic designs put together with just simple box joints, slot and tab for the base into the other parts. And yeah, should be fairly easy to glue together with some wood glue. And I'm not worried about these being too durable for this smaller shelf. They're going to hold some miscellaneous items, probably some lighter weight items, maybe some miscellaneous supplies for certain lasers, things like that. You could definitely scale this up for maybe some 1/4 inch material, but you're just going to have to be careful that if you use the slot and tab resize tool, not everything's going to come out exactly right, because it may want to push certain things out and adjust things in ways that it's going to change some of the interior dimensions. But let's go ahead and look at the layout I've got. Over here, I have the layout for the two different ones. So this is the larger one, the 6 inch tall one. That I have fitting onto kind of 1 1/3 or 1 1/2, 12 by 20 sheets. And so we've got our two sides, front, back, base, and then that front little notch here. I do like to include these now. It's just a 1 inch square size reference if you're importing it into another application. Easy way to double check that is still accurate. The other one, the 4 inch tall one, a little bit smaller, I am able to fit that onto two 12 by 12 inch sheets, or one 12 by 24. The P2 would fit a 12 by 24, but the S1 is 12 by 20. And so can't quite fit that onto the diode, but definitely taking up a little bit less space. So I'm going to go ahead and get these dropped into XCS, although these would also import into Lightburn just fine if you're using a different laser. And let's get to cutting them out. We'll look at the differences between the cut and get them glued together.
So we're going to cut out the first ones on the S1 using the 40 watt module. Diode lasers tend to be a little bit easier to use and start out with, because the laser module is on the gantry. There's no mirrors to align, but they do have a different burn. And so we'll look at the differences in a bit. But with the S1, they have this pinpoint positioning system where you mark one corner and you move the head to the other corner, mark the other corner, and then in the software, it draws a box showing you where the area is. So you can drag your items in there. It's very precise, works out very well. So here we're just going to cut out some box plates, and you'll see it doing a nice engrave there, and then it'll finish up with the cut. Now for alignment on the P2, we're going to go ahead and drop the wood into there, and it takes a overall picture first. We can kind of roughly align our material, but then we can come up here and click the close view button, bring it in where we want to take a look. And this is going to move the head over so it gets a closer straight down shot on that, and it's going to really dial in that alignment. So we can just tweak our positioning, maximize our material usage. The CO2 laser does use a tube in the back. It's water cooled, and it uses a series of mirrors to bounce the beam over to the head, and then has a focus lens in that module. And both these lasers have integrated air exhaust as well as air pumps. So they're nice lasers to get started with, but they are just slightly different.
All right, so I've cut out a few of the pieces, and of course, always starting out with a material test. So I'll show you the S1. Now this is the 40-watt module on here. And as you can see, at 90 and 100% power, it was cutting through at 11. Getting a little staining around the other cuts, but pretty good on the through cuts, just a little bit in the corners. So that's 11 millimeters a second. Same material on the P2. Now this is a 40-watt diode. The P2 is a 55-watt CO2. That we are getting much higher numbers on. Even squeaking out at 31 at 100% power. It's not always great to run your CO2 at those higher power levels, although xTool's done a good job of balancing their power supply to their tubes and kind of backing it off from the danger areas. It's always good to run it a little bit less, and I generally tend to back off of these a little bit. So we're going to be running around 80 and 28 millimeters a second, but that is showing up as double the speed of this. Now you notice on my cutouts here, I'm not using circles or squares. I'm using kind of that raindrop to the side. Gives you a good test in both a right angle as well as a curve, because sometimes you'll notice that it cuts out a square pattern real cleanly, but then you drop in a rounded pattern and it doesn't cut through. So I like to run a few tests and get both shapes in there. So these are the same piece off of two different lasers, off of the P2 as well as the S1. So this one is off of the P2. There is a little bit of staining at the top here, and that's most likely the air assist in the original P2. Not as good as the P2S. I would love to upgrade to the P2S. It has about double the airflow, and that would probably get rid of this topside staining and possibly improve our cuts a little bit more. This is the S1. The top is very clean. But I am getting some flashback off my honeycomb, so that's bad on me. I should probably clean that off again. But the big difference that we will see here is in the edge quality. And so here you see on this side, it's much more caramelized. You can actually still see the layers of the plywood, whereas on this side, it's very dark, scorched look. Now it's not like charred. It's not leaving residue on my finger. But it is a darker burn. And so your diode is on this side, whereas your CO2 is on this side. And depending on your circumstance, you might like that effect. You want cleaner cuts without as much charring. CO2 is definitely the way to go. But if I was doing an engraving, having that darker contrast on this one a little bit easier would make a difference. So just a couple of the differences between the two. Now, other things on the P2, I'm running one of the old air exhaust or air filtration systems. They're not as good as the new AP2 that I'm running on the S1. But normally I have the P2 hooked up to my main exhaust here or tucked out the garage door, but we are having kind of record heat here early in spring. So I didn't want to open up the doors and I didn't want to exhaust out here. So I hooked up to that and that can diminish the airflow, add more smoke, and that's going to give you some different cut quality over time. Whereas the S1 was running on that AP2, running very well, extracting most of the smoke. I did clean both of them beforehand, made sure the lenses and mirrors were clean on the P2, made sure the cover lens and everything was clean on the S1. So pretty good test. And mind you, this is also Baltic birch hardwood. This is hard layers, 3 hard layers of plywood. And so don't compare these speeds to your craft plywood or just straight basswood. It does take a little more power to get through these. With all that said, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to start cutting out more of these. We'll get them glued up and we'll see how they work in my shelving for storage system.
So on this first one, I'm going to be using some new glue that I saw at Workbench Con. It's Boss Dog Glue. It's a family-owned business made locally in the USA. So thought we'd give it a try on this project. It is a PVA-based glue, simple like white glue, wood glue. And so we will need to get it onto all corners and probably end up clamping it at the end. But the nice thing is it does give you some working time to get everything in alignment. And if you need to move things around before it sets up, you'll have some time with that. So we're just kind of making sure we get it on each tab and surface that's going to join and wiping it down a little bit in between and repeating that on all the panels. Once we have them all assembled, we're going to go ahead and get some clamps on here so that it can set up. This has a working time of about 30 minutes. We need to leave it clamped. So once that's done, we can pop it open, but we'll put it in clamps and leave it for now. On the next one, I'm going to be using this Type Bond speed set. It's similar PVA glue, but it has a 15-minute working time. So we're going to need to make sure we get this done and in clamps. And then I'll move on to the next. Now, you can use a random orbit sander just to clean up some of those scorch marks. And on these, I'm going ahead and just speeding through it using some Starbond thick CA, a little accelerator to get it going. This does make for a fast joint, but you got to be careful that you get everything in alignment right away before it sets and don't get your fingers stuck to it.
All right, so I was able to get all the boxes glued up and then put these little name tag plates on the front. They went pretty smooth. The CA glue is, of course, the fastest way to do it, but you may find over time that it is a more brittle joint as the wood glue is actually going to soak into the fibers and dry and set up that way, whereas the CA just kind of crystallizes and it'll grab the outside. So speed, sacrifice a little bit of durability. I've made a number of boxes these way over the years. Yeah, occasionally edge will kind of break free, but for quick shop projects like this, it's okay. And I can always reglue them or make more as needed. And they're fairly sturdy. Like I mentioned earlier, you could probably cut this out of some 1/4-inch material if you wanted them to be really beefy and strong, but I'm not going to be holding like excessively heavy things in here. They're going to be up on the shelf there. So what we haven't covered yet is the tags, and I ran them on both the P2 and the S1 for some comparison, and ran them both at about 75% power, 250 millimeters a second, all basically the same settings. And here are the S1 results. So you see there, fairly clean, fairly dark, whereas here is the P2. They're actually, the engraving part is about the same, maybe even a little darker, but just the way the air pump on that one works, got a little bit more of the vaporization staining. Not a big deal. This is easily sanded out. I could probably back it off a little bit more. I had it set for about 20 to 25% on engraving because I do like having that positive air coming out of the cone so smoke and vapors don't get back up in there on the lens. Just nice that the xTool S1, that pump seems to do a little bit better. Now, I think the P2 probably has a little more power to it as far as the air pressure and cutting, and especially if you get the P2S, you're going to have twice as much there. But the nice thing on these, you can sand them. This will come off fairly easily. And then they will just fit kind of in here. Now, it's kind of a friction fit, and you may need to sand these down a little bit if they're too tight, but the nice thing is they'll stay, but you can pull them out. As long as you don't twist them, you can pull them out and put it in if you have a different item that you need to work with. Now, one advantage the P2 has over the S1 is you can get fancy with your labels and make them out of transparent or translucent acrylic, and then you can have one there for acrylic scraps. You could do this work with either laser. You could do it with the P2, you could do it with the S1. Obviously the S1's a little bit cheaper up front, but it does have some size limitations. I was able to cut some of these boxes out, a lot of these boxes out a lot faster than on the S1, but the S1 got the job done. So both lasers have their own positioning systems. The S1 has the crosshair point positioning system. I showed you making a square, kind of drawing out the square on your shape, and it is very accurate in that with those positioning sensors and servo motors on there. You're going to be very accurate with that, as accurate as you are in placing those points. The P2 with their dual camera system, again, that's probably the most reliable an accurate camera system I've seen on any laser that I've used. And so I trust it highly. I'm able to get those parts in really close and use up some material when needed. Either one of these is actually fairly accurate as long as you use them correctly. So I've got my work cut out for me. I've got to fill up these bins, get some of the stuff off of my shelves and sometimes off of the horizontal surfaces in our shops that tend to collect things. And it'll help me get this shop cleaned up. So if you are interested in making some of these boxes yourself, I will have a link down below to my Etsy shop where I'll have the files out there in ready in XCS, and Lightburn, and a few other formats. So whatever laser you're using, if you want to play around with these, they're available to you. They're there for a small fee, and I use that to help replenish materials because I use a lot in the reviews and the projects and such to hopefully get some good information out to you guys. And that's a way that you can get something to support the channel and get a file that hopefully you can use. If you have any questions about it, go ahead and hit me up down below. I'll also have links in the description for both the xTool lasers used in this video. I use both of them quite frequently, and so I do recommend them as an option for you. If you have any questions on those, go ahead and hit me up. Otherwise, I appreciate you using any of those links to help support me and my workshop here. Do me a favor and hit me up with a comment down below, be it a question about the lasers, about the boxes, just about the project in general, maybe what you would do differently, maybe what you like about them. All those go and help the algorithm in YouTube to make sure that people see my content. And so if you found this informational, help others find it, hit that like button. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I do mix it up a lot with project videos like this. We jump into other lasers using Lightburn. I do product reviews, as well as I have a live stream with my friend David at the Clack Shack. We hop on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Central, a couple hours. We talk about what's going on, what's new, and most of the time is spent answering your questions. Live, we like to help people out as much as we can, interact with our viewers. So check us out, and all of those will go towards helping my channel. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. I hope you found it maybe entertaining, whatever it was. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you watched the video and made it to the end. So thank you very much. We will see you soon, but I hope in the meantime, you can get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you really soon.